Welcome back, everybody, to Franchisors.com. Thank you so much for joining us. As you guys can see here, we are in the beautiful PrimoHoagies location here in
Sicklerville, New Jersey.
Sicklerville, New Jersey, and I have the CEO of PrimoHoagies, Rocco Fiorentino, here with me. Thank you for joining me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Really looking forward to this. I think I know that I've tried this at a lot of conferences before, and this is definitely an experience. I'm really, really full. Somebody said it's like super gluten. I'm like kind of feeling myself getting to sleep here a little bit, so I'm going to try and be as lively as I can, but looking forward to talking to you about all this here. I think this will be fun. So, for the folks that don't know, just so we can get started here, I know that you played a role in PrimoHoagies before you came on as CEO. What really drew you to the brand?
Yeah, so for me, it's a local brand. I live in New Jersey, where we house our offices and the supply chain warehouse. And I've known the brand for a long time, but never got intimate with the brand until I met the founders and talked a little bit about where they saw the brand and where it was and where they could get it to go. Sure. And when I tasted the product, it was over.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit about that a little later when we get to differentiation, because I just tasted it too, and I don't disagree with you. So before we do that, though, would love to get into, when you first came on as CEO, and maybe even before. I'm sure that there were some things that, the PrimoHoagies team wanted to, in terms of a department that they wanted to get started with. Was there anything that you felt strongly about or that they felt strongly about?
Yeah, everyone has a different perspective on any brand, on any business. And I think all brands have opportunity to grow. It's funny, we have conversations about emerging brands, and I always believe every brand is emerging, not just small, young brands, but even mature brands. We're 15 years old as a franchisor, and at almost 100 units, we certainly can consider ourselves emerging. What does that mean? That means that we have a lot of opportunity, a lot of changes, technology, the way people deliver, the way people order. There's so many things going on. So, when I saw Primo, when I first met the brand and the folks that started the brand, I knew that there was a huge runway and huge opportunity to grow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you have been in franchising for a long time, obviously, on the evil side of the fence, as we'll call it, on the supplier side, just as I am now. I'm sure that there were a lot of things that you learned when you first got into the franchisor side, especially when it came to that first group of franchisees that you guys in particular brought in. Is there anything that you learned from that first wave that you guys have changed because of it at all?
Yeah, and prior to me being a supplier, I was a franchisee, a large franchisee at Krispy Kreme, and before that I was a franchisor in the bagel industry back in the 80s.
I knew.
So I was a franchisor and a franchisee, and I kind of wear both hats. Yeah. And I knew that we, as franchisors, have to have a good relationship with our franchisees. I call our franchisees our partners. They actually invest in our brand. So they're more than franchisees to me. They write a check every month, and they write a big check to open a new store, and they really build the brand with us and for us.
Absolutely. And I think that there are a lot of things that I'm sure that you guys have done to really ensure that you're, staying ahead of the pack and differentiating. Obviously, the food space is, almost half of the franchise space, and from a franchise development standpoint, is there anything that you guys are really doing to set yourself apart, since it is such a crowded space?
It is, and I look at the food industry in general, certainly within franchising, but if I told you we were doing hamburgers, you'd probably say the same thing. It's a crowded space, because if I told you I was doing coffee, you'd say it's a crowded space. So we're no different in the sandwich category. We've got a lot of good competitors that do a lot of good things. However, we do things differently as all of our competitors do. So we have to figure out what our differentiators are and make sure that we continue to promote that. And any brand is not a brand that's good for everyone. So we really have to connect with our franchisees, make sure they have the passion for what we do. Certainly, the investment is a big part of their decision. But working with the people that are part of our brand and working within the space and the products that we sell are really pretty specific to our brand. So kind of go through that with our candidates and make sure that it's a really good fit for both sides.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I guess a lot of folks differentiate themselves based off of how they feel about multi-unit versus single store. What are your opinions on that, and what have you guys done?
Yeah, I'm somewhat tainted because I come from the multi-unit world, so multi-unit is my background, so I always prefer multi-unit franchisees. However, I think there's a lot of, we have many multi-unit franchisees in our system here at Primo, and I think a lot of folks that are currently single-unit operators can really evolve to multi-unit locations, especially in a system that has the support and has the business model and the financial structure to allow them to do that. So I would love to see more multi-unit franchisees than not. That doesn't mean we wouldn't do a single unit.
Sure. Absolutely. And so, switching gears to how you guys differentiate from a product or service standpoint, I know you like talking about this in terms of, the product that you guys are bringing in, but, was there any exercises that you guys went through to kind of figure out how you wanted to set yourself apart? What did you think was really important in order to do that?
Yeah. So, we had a large menu, over almost 70 items.
Wow.
Now, a lot of them had a lot of common ingredients, but still, it was a very large menu. A couple years back, we took on a third-party supplier to help us with menu engineering, and tried to figure out where most of our sandwiches were most popular and what we can do to kind of narrow it down a little bit. So we did that a couple years ago. It was very successful. We brought the franchisees in to help us with that project, and we're doing it again in September. So this will be round 2 for our menu engineering, because we've added some things to our menu. We have the Philly cheesesteaks and the chicken cheesesteaks now, which we never had in 15 years.
Wow.
So that's been a big product for us in all the stores that have opted to go with the steaks. They're always number 1, number 2, or number 3 in the store. So so it's a good add-on product for us. It's very comfortable in our space and easy for us to do. So now we got to make room for some other new items coming down the road.
No, absolutely. And is there any recommendations as to how you get the franchisees involved and things like that? Because obviously, being somebody from your background as a multi-unit owner, was there any strategies that you guys had from, I guess maybe it's an FAC, maybe it was some type of committee? Is there anything that you guys did to help them get involved in decisions like that?
Yeah, so I think everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. So if we're doing menu engineering, I really would love the franchisees that have a passion for the menu, the ingredients, to be involved. Other franchisees are really good at marketing, so I'd love for them to be part of our marketing issues that we have, or how we spend our money, or what we do with it. Others are good on the operational side. They're good operators, so they look at efficiencies within the system. So bring them in when we're looking at a new piece of equipment. So, it gets down to all of us are smarter than one of us.
Yes.
And if you don't really ask your franchisees, I think you're missing a big piece of the business. They in a lot of cases, know a lot more than we do, because they're in their stores every day. They have their thumb on the pulse every day. So they have a lot of knowledge. And yes, they have a lot of opinions as well, but opinions are good. It kind of gets you in a direction where you need to go.
Sure, absolutely. And, let's switch gears a little bit to talk about something that I've actually heard you discuss on multiple panels at Springboard, and that's kind of about unit economics. And, I guess for somebody who has been in multiple facets of franchising, obviously the financials and what the franchisee is making is important, and you being one, of course. Is there, anything that you guys measure in particular that you think is really important for the franchisor to measure to understand the franchisees are making money?
Yeah, I suspect in a lot of cases, most people would look at 4 or 5 different metrics. Look at your unit sales, your labor, your cost of goods, your occupancy cost, your marketing cost. But more importantly than that, I find more often than not that franchisees love a brand or a product and they want to be involved, but they're not necessarily really good at their numbers.
Yeah.
If you don't know your numbers, you really don't know your business.
Right.
So we have a template. We make sure we get the P&Ls every month from the franchisees. Sometimes it's a struggle because it's not something fun to do, but it does tell you a lot. And if you don't measure it, you can't improve it. And if you do measure it, it will improve. So we're focused on that. We're coming out with a couple other things to give them a lot more help and see where they are system-wide. So, for example, if I got you a report card that said, Zach, your store is number 3 in sales system-wide, and but your catering is number 65 in our system, you have a great opportunity. You're doing really well in the store, but you're not doing enough in catering. Or we may give you other metrics that say you've got opportunity to do something else that you may not be doing. For example, you may be the first in chip sales, but the last in soda sales. So maybe we need to move the coolers around in the store. Maybe we need to redo some things so that you start to figure out where you have opportunity. Does that make sense?
Sure. No, absolutely. And, I think that data is rooted in a lot of things in franchising. And I think that one thing in particular that has, I suppose, become more popular in using data is, of course, franchise sales. And I know that there is a lot of movement with you guys on that front. And, being a food brand that obviously has an awesome product, would you say that, you think that organic is where you guys are getting a lot of your leads from? And is there anything that you've seen success with other brands across time that maybe people may learn from too?
Yeah, I think we're fortunate in the respect that a lot of our current franchisees were customers in our stores, and we have a brand that allows that to happen. Some brands, that's not the case, but that doesn't mean we can't go outside. We're only in 8 states, and we'd like to get to 16 and 32.
Sure.
So in order to do that, we're kind of spreading our wings a little bit and casting a wider net when it comes to development, when it comes to social media, when it comes to where we're advertising, when it comes to the shows we're doing. So I think we're looking at and measuring where we get the most bang for our buck. And we're also trying to figure out how we approach candidates, because I think we have to approach candidates differently and educate them on the brand and why it may be different than others before we start to have a real serious conversation. And I think people are getting much more sophisticated about the way they evaluate franchises. And there's a lot of data available. I mean, sometimes I think we're drunk with data. And what do we do with that data? If we don't really utilize it, then it's kind of wasted. But there is a lot of opportunity out there. You can go on your phone and take a look at any brand and get as deep as you want right on your mobile phone today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a recurring theme on the show here, is that, data and in particular, how you're using it is becoming more and more important, especially in franchise sales. People have more, they have the ability to go and look at content anywhere and everywhere. They could be sitting in bed, they can be on the way to work, whatever it is. There's a lot of different ways to consume. So you got to meet them where they are, of course. In addition to that, from a franchise sales standpoint, obviously being somebody who has a lot of experience, maybe even partaking in discovery days on the other side of the fence, and of course partaking in it now as a franchisor, any recommendations that you have on how to really execute a really efficient D-Day at all?
Yeah, discovery days are interesting. I've been to a lot, and you're right, I have a lot of experience. Unfortunately, most of it came way after I needed it.
Yes.
But in discovery days, you really have to connect with people, because I meet a lot of good candidates, but I'm not sure that every candidate is a good fit for us, or we may not be a good fit for them. At the end of the day, I think our business is about being able to select a really good team and then manage a team. Everything else we probably have a process for. So I'm not looking for people who want to develop a process on how to make a hoagie or how to cook a steak. I'd really like to identify people that want to be in this business, want to be part of our brand, and can really select good management and then manage the team. If you can do that, you win the game every time with a good system.
No,
if not, you're not utilizing the system or the process, and you're struggling with yourself. I try to tell my franchisees, do me a favor. I'd love that you know every aspect of the business, but I don't want you behind the register or on the slicer. It's not the best use of your time. I want you to, from 1,000 feet, select your management team and manage the team. And that is the toughest part. And we still don't do enough, and we're striving to do more to educate them on the management side, not necessarily the operations side.
No, absolutely. And I think that one thing that I've always found to be really awesome about what you guys are doing is, how you guys are able to vet out who's going to be a really good franchisee. Because I think that, one thing I asked you offline before we got on here, I go, hey, I normally have mayo and mustard on my sandwiches. Why is that? And you kind of gave me a very in-depth explanation about meats and cheeses that I don't really ever think I really knew. And so I imagine there has to be a certain element of passion. Is there something that you guys do to ensure that they are passionate about?
I mean, we have mayonnaise, and we have a lot of different condiments in the store. However, we use really high quality products, and when you do that, I always prefer you don't camouflage it with all the other things.
Sure.
And a lot of our customers like it that way. So everyone has a preference, and we certainly want to accommodate the customer. It's never ever about what we sell. It's only about what they're buying.
Right.
And so we try not to camouflage the high quality of our products and the high quality of the bread to give you the pure taste of the real old-fashioned style Italian sandwich.
And that ties into the culture, right? I mean, you guys have a really sophisticated and really awesome culture. I mean, you guys have your own type of chip. You guys have, the bread is pretty much the best bread I think I've ever had at a normal franchisor. And I can stand behind that, I think. How did you guys decide what the culture would be like, especially when you came in as the CEO? I'm sure that there were some things you wanted to change about it, but
yeah, it's interesting. With franchisees, I believe there is certainly a corporate culture, and then I think every franchisee within their group of 1, 2, 3, 5 stores has their subculture. That is specific to them, specific to their leadership. But, at the end of the day, we care about one thing, customer satisfaction. And in my mind, I care about 2 things. I care about franchisee profitability and customer satisfaction. If you take those 2 little words, customer satisfaction, franchisee profitability, there's a lot behind that. But if you can attempt to achieve that at all times, I think you'll be very successful. I, for one, am not afraid of an elevated complaint or an elevated customer. Frankly, I prefer to take care of them myself because I can manage an elevated customer. You never ever mess up an apology with an excuse.
No,
If you had an elevated complaint, you taught me something about my business, and I want to thank you for that.
No,
So
absolutely.
we make that very apparent when we say, thank you so much for making us aware. Let's fix it together. What can I do to make it better?
No, 100%. And I think that you guys do a really awesome job at ensuring that the customer is, not only satisfied, but, if they do have that complaint, that you guys are right there to meet them and meet them where they are. And I think that one way that you guys really do an efficient way of doing that is through the marketing tactics you guys have, especially on the local store level. And I think it is really interesting. You talk to me, I've heard you talk a lot about your guerrilla store marketing tactics that you guys do. You guys really, really dig in deep on those. What are some of the things that you guys are doing that people maybe can learn from?
We probably stick to the things we've done for years that have worked really, really well. Now today, we're fortunate to have loyalty programs. Mm-hmm. So we have a loyalty program like most brands. Mm-hmm. However, we want to make sure that we make it simple and easy. All I need is your phone number. And I want to make sure that we train our staff to always ask, if you're not one, can I take your phone number and make you a loyalty member? And there's rewards for that.
Sure.
But that is one way to communicate with your customer all the time. So in this particular store, twice a week, we'll send out a text. And we'll get to our 14,000 loyalty members out of this one store alone. And if I get 1% of them, I'm getting 140 people in the door.
Right.
If I get 1% that say, here's the special for the day. The other thing we do is we always send complimentary trays. Our catering trays are very popular. We have a small tray. We send it out to the car dealerships and the offices. And I've learned a long time ago, it's never better than when it's free. And we send a little tray out complimentary and say, hey, we'd like you to enjoy this. And if we can ever do anything for your office or supply you guys with lunch, we'd like to be considered. And with that and that alone, you get into the community. And that to me is worth a lot more than spending $1,500 for a coupon somewhere with a 10% off cutout.
Yeah, because
somebody
it's
brings
easier
it
to
back.
cut through the noise because it's sitting right in front of them in
We
the kitchen.
want our product in the hands of the consumer and not just on print in a magazine.
Yeah, because it's not all about, being found where they are, but also at the same time you want it to be, tangible too.
Well, and you're a consumer, right? So if I came to your office and we left the tray and you got into the lunchroom and bit into the sandwich, you go, oh my God, where did you get this from? I have to go there.
I would come back.
So, that to us is kind of where the rubber meets the road for us.
Absolutely. Well, great. So in closing, Rocco, I wanted just to ask you, since you have been in all facets of franchising, I'm sure when you got into here again at Primo's, I'm sure there were a lot of things that you probably wouldn't do again if you could help it. Is there anything that you could that you wouldn't mind sharing with the folks that maybe they can learn from?
There's a lot of things I wouldn't do again because it didn't work for me in the situation, but that doesn't mean it wouldn't work for someone else.
Sure.
So my goal now is to take this amazing foundation and build a taller building one floor at a time.
Sure.
And as entrepreneurs, we go from one mistake to the next very enthusiastically. So I hope I never stop making mistakes. If I do, I'm probably not trying hard enough.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, Rocco, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having us in our wonderful store and feeding us today as well.
I'm going to get you more food.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to probably pass out after. Well, thank you, folks. Really appreciate it, and see you guys soon.
Thank you.